Who is Lera Kelemen?
It's a funny question. I'm not sure actually. And maybe the aim or the scope or the drive behind this project is to sort of not discover, but find a way to metabolize experiences that I go through in life and they kind of define me. And they're often very simple or very mundane, but they sometimes get escalated to a very meaningful trait of my personality. So I guess I work with the simplicity of what comes my way and then morph it into something more meaningful and give it symbolic value.
How would you describe yourself today and your artistic practice?
As an artist? I think very intuitive. I think my practice has become less and less about form and aesthetics and more about the spark or the drive that kind of makes it. So I try to work, well, I don't try to work, it actually happened naturally that my work became very organic and very related to my life without being too autobiographical. And yeah, I think that's where I am today.
What does intimacy mean to you, and how does it emerge through the emotional landscapes you create?
I think intimacy can take many forms. Oftentimes I guess people think of intimacy and they think about the relation or the moment that happens between two people, something maybe erotic or sexual or that kind of intimacy. I think you can have even that type of erotic connection to an object, or you can have that type of connection to your room, for example, or to the surroundings. I think intimacy is definitely something that I seek all around me. I think through intimacy, things do acquire meaning and weight. So, yeah.
You often collect old objects from found in antique shops, restaurants, or places you visit, and weave them into your works. What draws you to this object, and what kind of emotional or symbolic life do they carry for you?
It's a really good question. I think there's two ways of collecting or archiving from my perspective. There's a collection which happens when you get caught kind of in an experience or in a moment and you don't really realize what happens. So I like to take little tokens from these experiences, which I later kind of look at or place in different setups, and it helps me quantify the experience sometimes. It's not necessarily, they're not necessarily meaningful in the moment, but because they kind of get sedimented in time, they acquire this value. And I think a lot of these things, a lot of the pieces in the works themselves are going to become even more valuable with time. And as time kind of steps on them, they're going to become sort of like little treasures in my personal history and maybe in a wider cultural sense. So I like this. I like the voyeurism of collecting and of archiving. I like the idea that it doesn't have to be precious physically. It doesn't have to have an actual value in order for it to be valuable, if you know what I mean. Like value kind of gets acquired through the practice itself. So yeah, that's my answer.
How do you think about the viewer's experience? Do you want them to feel immersed, confronted, transformed by your artworks?
I think a blend. I used to pay more attention to that. I think it's a bit like writing a little scribble on a piece of paper, and it's a little part of you. And somehow there's this drive in you that you want people to know that little thing you've inscribed. It doesn't really matter how it gets received, as long as you have this beautiful feeling of completion and excitement when you share something with the world, when you share a little part of you with the world. So I think this is how this is how I see it in a way. I see it as something very personal. I see it as something very sensitive, which I'm very happy to reinforce in myself through the feedback of people and more liveliness from the exterior world.
What inspires you right now?
What inspires me? Well, everything. I mean, what we just said before, objects really inspire me. Obviously, I don't know. I've never had a particular thing that I would say inspires me. It varies throughout my life. For example, when I'm in London, I like to walk a lot, and this might be a bit controversial, but I like to look in people's houses. Sometimes when the curtains are not shut, I feel like it's a bit of an invitation from the people. Even if it's a very subtle, it's a bit like a peephole through an interior kind of world, a world that you don't really have access to. And I find that quite fascinating. I find, ever since I was a child, I had this fascination, and I would get dreams about places that I couldn't reach, or houses that I would see from the outside but had never been into. So I would imagine, but not voluntarily, I would kind of dream what's behind the walls or what's behind these windows. And what I see sometimes through these peepholes is little paintings or setups or tables or very particular setups that people kind of make for themselves, again tracing back to intimacy and how they need to find that intimacy in their house. So yeah, I think that inspires me. And also a lot of things inspire me, talking to people, going out.
If you could describe your artwork in the exhibition Wisdom in the Absence of Power Structures in one word, what would it be and why?
I like the word see-through. It's, I think you can apply see-through to so many things. You can use see-through in fashion, for example. You can have a see-through dress or a see-through piece. You can have a see-through vitrine. You can talk about transparency. You can take it to more of a art history level and talk about transparency and shading and how we create all these nuances, visual nuances. And I think if we elevate it a little bit more towards the personal, and how our life gets exposed through various channels, through what we choose to share and what we choose to withhold, and how the pieces that we choose to get out into the world and things that we keep to ourselves. I think that's a bit of a see-through kind of moment, the things that kind of transpire through a personal selection, which has to feel safe, but at the same time vulnerable. I think it's a blend between, it's that junction, that very thin kind of layer of transparency, which allows things to be seen and withheld at the same time.